me share the presentation. Okay, so for those who are not familiar, who would like to know what the Windows Virtual Desktop is, we will talk about this. We'll talk about what are the benefits that you have. There are some small drawbacks, but it's important that you know about them. And also, we'll go through a little demo at the end. It's important that if you have questions, please do let me know. Do let us know. I'd love if you could please drop your questions in the chat, or at the end of the session, we'll be leaving a window, 10 minutes for questions that you may have. So if you have questions in the middle of the presentation, don't hesitate to use the chat. So please drop your questions there. I promise I'll be solving them. So don't worry if I don't answer them right away. So I'll try to keep an eye in the chat. So please ask out. So let's go ahead and get started with Windows Virtual Desktop in Azure. With this situation we're living now, with this COVID-19 pandemic, this has made many companies to let their employees work from home, which for some it's a blessing, for some others it's not. But the main challenge for any organization is to make sure their employees are as productive as they are at the office. So we have seen that the productivity has gone to the roof with people working from home. And well, this becomes a challenge for most of the organizations. So Microsoft Azure Windows Virtual Desktop, or also known as WVD, is a service in Azure. This could be one part of a response plan for this outbreak that we are currently living with. So with WVD, we no longer need to be concerned with the constraints of the physical hardware or maybe the person's location. So we may have different tools available regardless of the device, again, the location, the infrastructure that you may have or you may not have. So this is a great solution for what we're living nowadays. And honestly, I hope that everyone is healthy and fine. So with WVD and Microsoft Azure, this is a desktop and an app virtualization service, and this runs in the cloud in Azure. So WVD works across multiple devices. Doesn't really matter if you already have a Windows device, a Mac device, even your mobile devices, your iPads with iOS, or maybe Android devices. It doesn't really matter what you have. You can use this virtualization tool, so you can get all the tools that you're using at the office currently. We have applications that you can use to access remote desktops, and also, again, your applications. So you can use most of modern browsers to access WVD hosted experiences. In addition, to separating the remote sessions data from the user's device, WVD also improves security. We know that for most organizations, or if not all, security, it's a big deal. So we achieve this by using more secure connection type session hosted by the virtual machines in Azure, as opposed to the RDP sessions or remote desktop protocol over the port 3389. We have the integration of FX logic profiles. This lets you store the user's profiles as containers. Microsoft seems to love everything that comes down to containers, so everything will be containerized there. And these profiles are not the exception. So we'll have this profile set into these containers and a separate virtual disk, so we can achieve those boundaries. So when the user signs in, the user gets its iPad or its Surface tablet or the Android device. So whenever the user signs in, their virtual disk dynamically attaches in real time to any virtual desktop virtual machine. So the local files in the attached virtual disk feel like they're running directly from the C drive in your computer. So those are some of the benefits that you have by going into WVD. This technology gives you options also to load balance users in your virtual machine host pools. We will talk about this in a minute, how you can get different options for balancing the load that's coming to your applications within a lot of users that they may be connected at the same time. So we have something called host pools. These are collections of virtual machines within the same configuration. And again, you can assign this to multiple users. They will not even notice they are connected to one single virtual machine. And this is as simple as just going into your Azure portal, preparing the infrastructure, preparing the deployment, and once you have deployed your services, you can just go ahead and optimize them. You can select, again, whether you need a user or a multiple users to be connected to one single virtual machine, and this will give them the similar access that they will have if they will be working with their desktops or tablets. They will be getting reliability. Again, we will have this disks, VHDs attached real time. So you don't need to wait. For example, if you're, I know that if you have work with Outlook, you know, it is sometimes a little pain just wait for our client to connect to the server, retrieve all our emails, send everything we have in the outbox. So you don't need to wait. It's great that you just open the application and you're ready to start sending your emails. So we have those benefits using the WVDs. Windows Virtual Desktop, again, we have the experience. This is delivered in the cloud, in the Microsoft Cloud, which is Azure. We can deliver the only multi-session Windows 10 experience, and not only Windows 10. You may have different versions of Windows 10. We may have also Windows Server experiences. If you need to work with Windows Server, that is also available, and I'll show you that in the little demo we have later on. We can also enable optimizations for your Microsoft 365 Pro Plus. We can also get, again, if you need your applications to be available, they will be there. You don't need to wait. You don't need to, for example, if you have used Citrix or other virtualization environments, you know that you have to download the client, you need to sign in, and once you're ready, you need to connect, and that takes a little longer than expected. With these optimizations, you can get your applications, Word, Excel, Dynamics, well, whatever you're using, it will be ready for you. You can also migrate Windows Server RDS desktop and your applications, no matter what applications for Windows you have, you can bring them over. And if you have a license, you can also bring it over. So you will have a discount for your Windows Server and the services that you're getting into the cloud. This is another benefit, deployed and scale within minutes. I'll show you, there's a little more steps to take whenever you're preparing your WVD, but it's quite simple. The deployment, it takes just a few minutes. Unfortunately, we have limited time, so I cannot go through the whole process of grouping users and getting them the access to the WVD's applications. But I have something ready. You will notice that the process in the wizard, it's quite simple. It takes just a few minutes for you to configure everything that you need. We can also use templates. So deploying and also working with scaling, it takes no time. So the benefit, it's great if you compare it to the time that you're investing to get your WVD ready. We have also security with the Microsoft ecosystem. So it's important that, you know, we can have Microsoft 365 access. We can select either conditional access. We can also select MFA. It's important that we know that we can add another layer of security. So we can have a push notification, biometrics, any other multi-factor authentication method that you use. It's also available for securing our solution. RBAC, it's also available, role-based access control, so you can granulate the access that you give depending on a role. Maybe you have a contributor that is only working with your applications, so you can set those boundaries so your applications will not be compromised, your information will not be compromised. We also have in Azure more than 90 compliance offerings. We can use policies, we can use blueprints and initiatives, so we can get those policies making sure that we remain compliant, that our organization is not crossing the line of compliance. And if we're not, it tells us which resource it's not compliant. So that's great. We can get all that information in one single spot in Azure. We also have 3,500 global cybersecurity experts working for us. So if you have any situation, Microsoft spends a lot of money every year when it comes to them to security. So we have that information all processed and secured, and we have also, sorry, the Microsoft protecting our information, and we have also experts assisting with that. We have 6.5 trillion global signals daily, and we have 1 billion annual cybersecurity investment. So this is what I was mentioning. Microsoft spends a lot of money when it comes down to security. And regarding the WVD, we have reverse connection. You can also enable, and you must enable your Azure AD authentication with WVD. We can use the identities that we have in AAD to grant access to applications. So what happens if you need the whole compute power for your operations, but you only need access to some virtual machines, so you can do lift and shift operations with your developers and maybe your testers as well. We can use Azure AD authentication, so you can give access depending on what the necessity is. And also nowadays, we know we have the BYOD. It's becoming more popular. Bring your own device. So AD join virtual machines. It's also available, so we can have any virtual devices that you may have, or actually also other physical devices that you may have. We can use AD join, so we can get them accessed into the domain. They must be compliant. They will remain compliant, and the organization will be sure those devices are indeed compliant. This is the eligibility for Windows Virtual Desktop. We have the requirements for the licensing. This is important, and for your consideration, this is a must. You need an Azure account and a subscription, so you can quickly deploy and manage your virtualization environments. So again, it's important that you have an Azure account and also that you have a subscription. We have Azure components that factor into the price of your WVD's deployments. What are those factors? The virtual machine sizes, the type of OS that you select, the storage, that is also key, the amount of storage that you use, that will also be part of the price, the data disks, only for personal desktops, user profile storage. If you select to get profile storage per user, that will also be part of the price. The networking, if you select to have different, for example, a load balancer and a firewall, and well, if you can still build your network, that will also incur into the price. So the WVD session hosts virtual machines, as I mentioned earlier. This includes, for example, Citrix Cloud and VMware Horizon Cloud and Azure deployments, and they are charged Linux compute rates for Windows 10. And also that's for a single user, or you may have multi-sessions and also Windows Server. So we have options in which you can take advantage of. If you have a license, let's say you can bring it over, you can get a discount up to 72%, as I checked yesterday. If you have a license, you can get a discount. Also, if you can, if you want to take advantage of the option of reservations, if you use reserved virtual machine instances for 1 or 3 years, you can also get a great discount, and that's versus the option for go as you pay price. Pay as you go pricing. You can also use reserved virtual machine instances. Those are flexible, and you can exchange them easily or even return them. So again, the clients, the customers that are eligible to access Windows 10 single and multi-session, you can also get access to Windows 7. I know that there are some companies using legacy OSs and legacy devices, so we also have access to Windows 7 environments with Windows Virtual Desktop. If you have these licenses, you're eligible. Microsoft 365 E3 or E5. Microsoft 365 A3, A5, student use benefits, Microsoft 365 F1, 365 Business, or Windows 10, either if you have Enterprise E3 or E5, Education A3 or A5, and Windows 10 VDA per user. With the server for server license, the customers that are eligible to access the server workloads with WVD, if you have RDS call license with active software assurance. This is a high-level architecture on the WVDs. You can use, again, Active Directory or AAD to manage the identities. Again, you may need to have, for example, your HR team, and if you have your AD synced with AAD, well, you can get access also to the applications. It gives you the virtualization infrastructure as a managed service, so you don't have to worry about the infrastructure. Microsoft will give you that. It's a the software as a service option that we have here. So you don't need to worry about the security for the data center, the optimizations, the updates, the networking, everything, all the infrastructure is covered by Microsoft. You just need to bring your data and the access for your users. Deploy and manage virtual machines in an Azure subscription. You have the power to manage those virtual machines to tell, again, the example that I mentioned earlier. If you have a developers team, they don't need virtual machines that are ready for GPUs. So maybe another team that is working with graphics and rendering and using all the compute power, they may select to have a virtual machine that's optimized for GPUs. Or well, you name it. You may have different purposes, so you can deploy and also manage those virtual machines in your Azure subscription. So you can manage using existing tools like Configuration Manager and Microsoft Intune. You can integrate those tools and many others. We will talk about how we can integrate other applications and third-party apps, so we can integrate them with this service. And you can simply connect to your on-premise resources, so you don't have to worry about if your applications are running in your on-prem. That's okay. We can get access through the cloud to your applications. And this is it's pretty much the same screenshot, the architecture that we have on your subscription and what you control and what's managed by Microsoft, but I like this one better. What is managed by Microsoft and what is managed by your organization? What is managed by Microsoft? The web client. So the web access service with the Windows Virtual Desktop lets the users access the virtual desktops and remote apps using a HTML5 compatible web browser. So it's as simple as that you can get access to the application. So again, you can use any device to connect to your applications in the cloud. You can use secure web access by using, again, MFA or AAD. We also have access to diagnostics. Every remote desktop diagnostics is an event-based aggregator, and that marks each user or every administrator action in the WVD deployments as a success or as a failure. So the administrators can query the aggregation of those events to identify if they are failing components. So we can get those diagnostics so we can troubleshoot and go further with continuous improvement, for example. Management, what about the management of the resources that we have? You can manage WVD configurations in the Azure portal. So you can manage and publish host pools resources. WVD also will include several extensibility components that you can use. You can manage WVD using PowerShell, for example, or maybe you can use the provided REST APIs. This is also helping you to enable the support from third-party tools. Again, integration, it's another benefit we have. Broker, we also have the connection broker service. It manages the user connections to virtual desktops and also to remote applications. It gives us load balancing and also the reconnection to existing sessions, if any. Load balancing also, it's something we can use. Let's say that you have the traffic coming into your application and we need to distribute the traffic and also distribute the traffic throughout your users. So the session host load balancing, it's by depth first or breadth first. We'll talk about this in the next slides. What is depth first or breadth first? The broker will decide how the new incoming sessions are to be distributed across the virtual machines in that host pool. So we also have gateways. The remote connection gateway, this service connects remote users to our WVD, to the apps that we have in the WVD and also to the desktops from any internet connected device that will be or that can run WVD client. So the client connects to a gateway. So this gateway will be the point of contact with the cloud. So this connects with the gateway, which then orchestrates the connection from the virtual machine back to the same gateway. And those are the tools that we have managed by Microsoft. Of course, the compute power, the storage, and the networking. You can select, again, the size of the virtual machines, but the infrastructure is managed when it comes in terms of security, power, cooling. Well, that's Microsoft's responsibility. Same thing for storage and same thing for networking. What you managed, we have the creation of application groups. So we can group published and assign access to remote applications or maybe to desktop. So we have access to either or. This is something you manage. The desktop, we have remote desktop applications groups, and this gives users access to an entire full desktop environment. And again, if you have used Citrix, you know that this is similar. So you can provide a desktop where the session hosts the virtual machine resources, and those are shared, or maybe they are pooled. So you can also have the option in which you can provide personal desktops to users. So if those users need to be able to add or remove programs without impacting other users, you can do that as well. We know that within an organization, we have different needs, different applications that we need to assign. So it will be a lot better, a lot easier, user-friendly if you just assign the applications that a user needs versus give them all the applications so they need to dig throughout them and get the right application. The app, we can use remote app applications groups. This gives the users access to the applications you individually publish to the application group. So you can create multiple remote apps. So you can group those applications. You can accommodate different user scenarios. Again, depending on what your organization needs, what your department is doing, you can assign the applications to that group. Use remote app, you can use it to virtualize an application that runs on the legacy OS. Mentioned earlier, Windows 7, or one that needs to be secured to secure the access to some corporate resources. We know that, for example, maybe directors and everything above that role may have a separate access and secure access. So we can also grant that. Images, when you configure session host for application groups, you have your choice of images. You have recommended images like the Windows 10 Enterprise, multi-session, and we can add Microsoft 365, or you may select another image. We have a gallery for that. You will see in the demo, we have a gallery. You can also bring your own image. If you have a customized image, or if it's provided by Microsoft or other publishers, you can also use that. So you can also use your image build through Hyper-V, or maybe if it's on an Azure virtual machine, you can also bring it over. Azure and WVD announcement. So we have the compatibility promised by Microsoft. So we have those applications that are running currently in Windows 10 Enterprise. We can have a multi-session. So again, you can have one single virtual machine running Windows 10, and multiple users can access to it. So we have this virtualized applications will be running in Windows Server RDSH, and this will be running on Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session. This is part of WVD. And we have the Windows 10 Enterprise, so you can have the applications running in any legacy environment like Windows 7 or maybe currently in Windows 10 VDI environment, and they will be running on Windows 7 or Windows 10 Enterprise, and that is also part of WVD. And well, we have also the applications running on Windows 7, Windows 10 clients, and they will be running on Windows 10 Enterprise again. Now, Microsoft Teams, it's another tool that we have for collaboration. Maybe you're familiar with it, and now it's supported by our WVD. Microsoft Teams on WVD supports chat and, well, pretty much collaboration. You have media optimizations. It also supports calling and meeting functionality. With the media optimizations for Teams, Windows desktop clients handles audio and video locally for Teams calls, and also if you have meetings, works the same. You can still use Teams on your WVD with other clients, and you don't need to optimize the calling or those meetings. The Teams chat and also their collaboration features are supported in all the platforms that we have in WVD. Before you can use Teams, there is some steps we need to take. We need to run through a preparation, so to speak. So we need to do a couple of things. We need to prepare our network for Microsoft Teams. We need to install the the Windows desktop client on a Windows 10 or maybe in a Windows 10 IoT enterprise device. So this installation needs to meet the Teams hardware requirements for Teams on a Microsoft Windows PC. Next step, you need to connect to a Windows 10 multi-session, or maybe if you have a Windows 10 enterprise virtual machine, well, you can use that as well. Then you need to download it and install the Teams desktop application on the host using per machine installation. So it needs to be done in each machine. We also have to download the media optimization for Teams, and this required Teams desktop application. And I think the version it's 1.3 or up. WVD Management Experience. What is it? This is how it looks like in the portal. We can use the Azure portal for the deployment management experience. We have a first-party service functionality. Again, it supports AD groups, so you can group your users, and then you can assign them to the applications in your virtual machine. It had integration with tools like PowerShell with Azure Module. We also have integration, and this is key. We have integration with Azure Monitor and also with Log Analytics. For those who are not familiar with this, every time that you deploy something in the cloud, Azure Monitor will start to collect the telemetry of those services or resources, and you can use Azure Monitor to monitor, well, everything that is in the cloud, your virtual machines, the network, even your subscription. If you have an Active Directory in Azure, you can check, for example, login attempts, failed login attempts, locations for those logins. Well, you can monitor pretty much everything that it is in Azure. Also, Log Analytics. The Log Analytics workspace will allow you to run queries, so you can check and you can get information pretty much from everything that is in the cloud. You can get information from the behavior on your network, on your virtual machines. You can run queries for if there was a DDoS attack, for example. If you have set the standard tier for DDoS protection, you can also track that down using this query. So we have integration with the Azure Monitor and also with Log Analytics. We can also use Azure RBAC and Lighthouse, so we can granulate the access to the applications or to the to Azure. So you can assign a contributor to be managing your applications, but that contributor will only be limited to work with that. The contributor will not have access to anything else. The Azure portal support for creation, management, and diagnostics. So let's go ahead and take a look at the portal, how it looks like in Azure. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Windows Virtual Desktop. This is the blade in which we can start creating our host pools. There is documentation that you can access from here. For if you're starting with Windows Virtual Desktop, you can start well, there's a lot of information. We also have links for community if you have questions about it. So let's get started. We can create host pools. We can go through our application groups, workspaces, and users from this blade. So let's go ahead and take a look at the host pools. I had one created last night because it takes it took less than 10 minutes, but well, I don't want you to be waiting 10 minutes just to see how it looks like. So let's go ahead and just go through the wizard. So you will see how it looks like. We need to select the subscription. We need to select the resource group, or we can create a new one. We need to add a name for our host pool. Windows Virtual Desktop, host pool 2, the location. The metadata will be stored in an Azure geography associated to this location. It's important that that we have these locations available for our host pool. So we have also validation of the environment. You can decide whether to validate it or not. If you say yes, we will get a validation before it goes out. This is kind of what the developers and testers do. So we'll check if the applications are working fine or not. We can just not go there, and we can select the host pool type. We can select either personal, so we can assign the type automatic or direct, or we can select pooled. We have options also to select the max session limits, or we can select the load balancing algorithm, either if it's breadth first or depth first. We will talk about this in a moment. Then we need to select, we'll just do personal direct. We will select the VMs. We can add the virtual machines, yes or no. We can do this later. So if we say yes, we need to select, again, the resource group. We need to go to assign the virtual machine location. There's one detail here, if you're not familiar with Azure, depending on the location of your deployment, there is a cost that it will be variable. So if you select East US and maybe in Japan, it may be more expensive depending on, well, the location, the price may change. The size of your virtual machine, again, if you need to select only for developer purposes, you can select any of this general purpose family. If you need something with more horsepower, well, you can go ahead and check this D-series families, E-series families for memory optimized general purpose, but with more horsepowers. Or if we have other options, for example, premium generation sizes for compute optimized, we have all the offer here. We have the available vCPUs, the RAM that it has, that VM, data disks that it supports, max IOPS. This temporary storage disk, it's well, it's not recommended that you use it for persistent storage. If we have premium disk supported or not, depending again on the region and the size of the VM, and also the cost per month. You will get an estimated cost per month, and well, depending on where you deploy your subscription, the currency will be selected. So let's leave this default standard DS2B3. We have 2 vCPUs and a GB of memory. We can change the size at any moment. How many virtual machines do you need? Let's say I only need one now. The name prefix of our virtual machine, well, we can select, let's say, WVD1. We need to have, this is key, the session host name must be unique within the resource group. If in your resource group you have a host name that's like the same as other, you will need to rename it. You will get a notification here. Image type, you can use an image from the gallery, or if you have your image in a storage blob, you need to add the URI, and we can select one from the gallery. We can select the available images and disks we have. We can select any of the Linux flavors, or we can go with the Microsoft's or even Citrix. And well, we have here all the offer in the marketplace. Let's say I just need to have a Windows 10. So I have Windows 10 Pro and other versions of Windows 10, depending on what you need. So we have here all the available offer that includes Windows 10. So let's select this one. We need this image, the OS disk type. Again, we have options to get SSDs or mechanical disks. So it's up to what your organization needs. The network and security, it's also we need to select in this wizard. We need to select the virtual network. If you don't have a virtual network built, you will need to go ahead and create one. You also need a subnet. The IP, well, you can select one or not, depending on what your organization needs. Also, the NSGs, you can create, or you can select none, or maybe you can select basic, so you will select the ports. For example, we can use HTTP, HTTPS, and RDP. We get the notification that, well, this is not a good idea, only if you're using it for testing or demo purposes. You can specify a domain or unit, yes or no, and you need to provide an administrator account. That administrator account must have the roles assigned for global administrator. If you do not assign that role for owner or global administrator, you will get an error in the creation of your VM. So I will add my name for the subscription, my, there it is, a password. Again. All right, it's valid. Now we need to select that workspace. So we can register a desktop app group or not. So if we do have it, we can select it from this list, or we can create a new one. So we just need to add a name for our workspace. So we can add the name of our desktop. Finally, we have the tagging. We need validation. And once we get validation, we can go ahead and create this host pool. Like I said, it takes around 10, maybe less than 10 minutes, depending on the configuration. If you add more virtual machines, well, it will be taking longer. So I will not complete this because I had one created. So let's go ahead and check on this blade. We have the registration key. We can use this registration key to add additional virtual machines to our host pool. We just need to download it, or we can take it off. We have options also to remove it. We have options for assigning roles. Again, it's important that we know that we can assign roles for contributors, for example, so they can manage our infrastructure if needed. And well, we can check on the RDP properties. So we can select a decision behavior, connection information, device redirection if needed. We have multiple options for this one. Under properties, we have only the information for the resources. And of course, we can change the validation or not. We have logs as well. And well, here comes the interesting part, application groups. We can add our application groups. We have named this one default desktop. You may have multiple of these application groups. Again, maybe you need one application group for HR. So we need to select the resource group, the application group name, HR, Windows Virtual Desktop 1. The applications that you will be assigning, well, I don't have any virtual machines running now, but if you would have them, you can add the applications in this list. The assignments, you can use assign the people who's in your AAD in this list. So there it is. You can start selecting them. They will be showing down here. The workspace, again, if you have your workspace created, they will be showing here or not. You can do that later. And then you can get validation and create your application groups. You can have multiple of them. Again, you can use one single virtual machine. So you can have these application groups running there, or you may have one per session. Session host, we can add the host of the session. I added myself. We have the virtual machines, the resource group. We can change this information. These are the virtual machines that will be added. here, the same wizard, and then we can get those virtual machines added here. And well, once we have our workspace created, we will have here the virtual machines and how many host sessions we have running there, how many applications or applications we have. So we'll have all this information displayed in this one single spot. There is also documentation you can go through if you want to add a remote app application group or add users to your desktop or restart the virtual machine. So we can get that documentation directly from here. So let's go back to the deck optimization. Remember, we mentioned that there is a breadth mode or depth mode. The breadth mode, you can load balance to allocate your users across the host pools. And you need this whenever you need the best performance. The depth mode, it optimizes the cost savings. So the load balancer fully allocates users on a single virtual machine before moving into the next one. And again, you do this if you don't need to get the best performance. For the best performance, this is the best option, the breadth mode. So you can configure the users to be working on a GPU acceleration in your WVD, and the breadth mode will be the best option. If you just need them to access their email, Excel, Word, well, you can use the depth mode. We have also options for scaling the WVDs with Azure Automation. We can add Azure Logic Apps, and we can configure webhooks and runbooks. So we can get applications to be scaled up if it's needed. So we have our WVD host pool, and we can use this architecture if we need to run through optimization. And also, we can use Logic Apps for integration. So we may have an application that it's integrated using Logic Apps, and we can get the host pool to be scaled up if it's needed, or scale out, depending. And well, this is just a screenshot on how we can configure the host pools. We went through this in the small demo. Of course, there are some other several steps to take before that. We need to work with the Active Directory and group our users, but that takes a lot of time. It's just worth to mention. When to use WVD? Whenever your organization needs security and regulation, so you can keep the data and the organizational resources safe while you enable the appropriate level of access to a variety of the organization's users. You can leverage documentations and systems that supports compliance with the industry. So the compliance will be supported there, or maybe if there are local regulations, well, we can use WVD. Elastic Workforce, for example, whenever we need to have the scale up our applications, well, we can get this WVD feature. Remote employees, as mentioned earlier. Nowadays, most of the organization have users or workers at home. So whenever you have remote employees, this is a great option. Specialized workloads, whenever you have workloads that need to be processed and integrated with the cloud, well, you can use also WVD. We have also limitations, as you may imagine, when not to use Windows Virtual Desktop. Well, basically, whenever you have offline scenarios, we need to have internet connectivity to run Windows Virtual Desktops because this is running in the cloud. So if we don't have internet, well, this is not going to work. So that was pretty much it. The presentation. Do you have any questions? Let me check real quick in the chat, or you can unmute yourselves and you have questions. Can we hook a WISE or thin client device to it? Yes, you can. Yes, it's any device can be integrated as long as it's running HTML5. Teams E5 phone calling, is that supported? Yes, it is supported. Thank you, Jay. And is there going to be a VOD for this? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but maybe Will can give us an answer for that.
Yeah, I can hop in there. Yeah, there will be a video on demand for this.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Will.
Yeah.
Dudley Wells, how do you, or best practices for updating an image? I think best practice is whenever your organization or your application that you're running, it needs to be patched all the time. I think it's worth to check with the provider or with the developers what's the best image. Uh, the images nowadays are stable enough, so you don't have to be updating them all the time. So I think it depends on your organization and also in the applications that you're using. How can you access the? I'm sorry, Jay. What do you mean? How can you access the?
I think he's talking about the video on demand. So Jay,
Oh,
I'll be sending out a follow-up email to everyone here. That'll include a link to our YouTube channel where we'll post the video on demand.
awesome, awesome. Thank you, Will.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Um, any other question that you may have? Please ask out. All right. So we still have. In terms of pricing model, what does it make sense to switch to the solution? Um, as I mentioned earlier, let's say that your organization needs to go. Your organization has a Windows Server license. Your organization has Microsoft 365 licenses. It's worth to think about moving into the cloud. But in terms of WVD, if your organization is thinking about leaving the infrastructure behind, let's say the private cloud, you can turn into the Azure services and also into WVD. So you can go with enterprise agreements, so you can get a discount. If you bring your licenses, you can also get a discount for that. And if you, there are many ways to save some money. So the pricing models, it also depends on what you use it for. If you have only developers working with, I'm sorry, with the cloud, the pay as you go model will be the best option. But again, if you have a production environment that's working with full workloads in the cloud, enterprise agreements and everything that I mentioned earlier will be the best option to go with the WVD. Oh no, thank you, Jay. You brought great questions. Thank you so much for asking. Um, any other question? We have a couple of more things to talk about before we go there. Do you have any other comments, questions? Don't be shy.
Let's cover that housekeeping, and then we can answer any more questions after we cover the
Sure.
promos and everything.
All right.
So with the courses that we had talked through, we've got a couple offers here: 35% off all Microsoft technical classes for all companies that purchase a dedicated course. Or on the flip side, any individuals that are purchasing a course will get a $500 Amazon gift card along with their purchase of that technical course. So those are the promotions we're running. These will also be included in that email I'll be sending out. So keep an eye out for that, guys. And that's it on my end of things. If there are any other questions there, Marco, you can go ahead and take care of those now too.
Sure, sure. We're having people work from home on their personal machines. They come into the office. Do we need a full OS in the office to hit the WD? Can the OS be set up in their VD? Actually, that's a great question. And everything comes down to this question. You can have uh, an iOS device, and you don't need to get your users going into the office to set up the environment. They will be only they only need to download the tool so they can access to all their applications directly from that centralized point, so they don't need to go to the office anymore. That's what Microsoft is doing now. I don't know if you heard about this news. Microsoft has offered all its employees not to go back to the office ever. So Oh well, yeah. I know. The company I used to work for, they also require the workers to go to the office at least once a week. So yeah. I mean, in terms of the tool, you don't have to get the users coming into the office to set up anything. For example, whenever you need to um, uh, join your computer to a domain. You need to get the IT team working on that, joining into the domain. Maybe they can do it remotely, but it's it's a show to do that. And it happened to me when I would try to get my computer into the domain. And when I was working in the service desk in the IT department, I also had problems with that. So you can have your users remotely connecting to the applications with WVD. That's the benefit, and actually that's the intention of having those workspaces available, so they don't have to hit the office anymore. Would they just log into the VD directly from the office, or they need to log into an OS and hit the HTML? They need to hit um, the OS, and within the OS, they would just go to a web page, an HTML5 web page. And that's it. They don't need to do anything else. Like I said, you just hit that web page, and if you need to take a look at your emails, you just open the Outlook application, and bang, there it is. Yeah, it's possible. Any option to log directly into the BD from the office computers? Yeah, it's possible. The straight answer is yes. I don't want to go round and round. So the straight answer is yes. You can directly log into the VD. All right. Great questions again. And I think that this will be answering questions for many of the attendees. So thank you so much for those questions. Those were great. We still have 6 more minutes. Do you have any other comments or any other question that you may have regarding either the WVD or maybe this offer we have on screen? Yeah, actually, there is a yeah, exactly. Actually, there is an integration with OneDrive. So whenever you go to OneDrive, we'll have that we have that integration in which you can get your OneDrive documents linked to the cloud and linked to WVD. So you don't have to go to OneDrive. You can get those documents directly integrated with the cloud. All right. John, what is the WVD equivalent to VMware DEM to manage user settings on more granular basis? The equivalent will be the portal or PowerShell. We can use either or. We can use Active Directory to granulate those the management of those users. Unfortunately, I don't have a demo right now or something to show you, but we have the integration with Azure Active Directory, so we can manage the users in RBAC. I'm sorry, I don't have something to show you, John, but basically it's just AAD, RBAC, and well, that's it.
Hey Marco, I do see some in the Q&A spot. I don't know.
Oh,
Did you get to those? There's the chat and then there's the Q&A. I know a
yeah.
couple of them are overlapped, but
Yeah, here it is. I'm sorry, I didn't open it. Thank you so much, Will.
yeah.
From Tom, can you limit logins in the depth mode? Yes, you can. Everything that you have in WVD, you can run for segmentation. So straight answer is yes, you can limit those logins in the depth mode. Well, we have that question from John. We had, what about Windows Update? Who's responsible? Well, you're responsible. Whenever it comes to update your virtual machines, you are responsible for that, or your organization, or you as an administrator. Does Microsoft update this automatically, or we have to perform? It needs to be performed manually. So you cannot. Microsoft runs through patching and updating the servers at the data centers. It does it periodically. Actually, we have planned updates and also unplanned updates, but you're responsible to update and patching your virtual machines. Do we have control over updates via prim WZUs? Yes, you do. You do have control using WZUs. And actually, we are turning into the updates with the I forgot the name of the tool. But yes, we'll you can control them. You can use the updates yourself. All right. So we have a couple more minutes. I just want to thank you so much because you took an hour of your daily duties to be here. I hope this session has been informative. I know that you may have some more questions. Please reach us out if we can do something else for you. There are some other sessions in directions that you can take regarding trainings. So personally, I want to thank you all for your great questions you brought today, and also for the time you took to be here. And I don't know if you have something else, Will, but that's it from my end. Thank you so much to everyone. You've been great, and I hope to meet you in further instructions. So please be safe and well, enjoy your weekend.
Yep, nothing more to add from me. Thank you, everybody, and keep an eye out for those emails.